saw that double three going.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Calling to order this meeting of the Public Transportation Advisory Committee for March 11th. Well, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance and then move into our agenda. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much.
Flag holders.
Yes.
Hold the flag out.
Yes, it looks all much nicer. It's all special for the anniversary and the birthdays and right, spiffing up a little bit. First off, before we move to the review of minutes, we're all aware Austin had to step down from the committee, and unfortunately Carol Golla did too. So we're down 2 members.
Oh, wow.
Any residents that might want to join the committee, honestly, if you have any interest in parking, transportation, moving about town, this is the place to be. And if you have ideas that you've always wanted a place to voice, here's the place to do it. So if you're out there and you're listening, come on down, take a seat. We can use you.
We did reach out to the young woman that came in.
Oh, excellent.
So I haven't heard back. I just reached out to her this afternoon.
Excellent. Thank you so much. That's really great. We definitely need more. We benefit from having many voices on this committee, many more than we are right now. So as far as the review of minutes, I'm very unsure of the process regarding quorum. So
I think you have a quorum. So
we do have a quorum with 3 people.
This is the full board at the moment.
This is, yeah.
So,
Then
you got a quorum.
then I will take a motion to accept the minutes as presented, unless there are some issues that you have uncovered.
I move to accept the minutes.
Do I have a second?
Sure, I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? Since we're still reading them. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that's unanimous. Moving on to regular business. On public transportation, I don't have anything new myself. If there is anything that one of you has to bring forward, not at the moment. Good. Then we'll move on to let's move on to why we are all here. And I don't know to what extent the entire committee is aware of it, but at the last, no, not the last, maybe it was the last, I don't remember, it was the last council meeting or the one before that, the council moved to, voted to ask this committee to develop a report regarding the idea of paid parking in town, and also to look over the proposed ordinance changes regarding parking that are originating out of the police department, and report back to the council. I would say we should start with the paid parking issue, and then review the ordinance, proposed ordinance on our own, and then come back and have that conversation at the next meeting. Maybe there's a section in the ordinance that addresses paid parking already. If we just bracket that for a later date and just review the ordinance in regards to any fee changes and discussion of public parking lots and such, then I think we can make some headway next time and spend the remainder of the time focusing on how we want to approach developing a report on paid parking for the town council. The deadline that we've been given is the end of the fiscal year. Not that we should wait that long, but that's the time frame that we have. Any comments, ideas? Have you looked over the proposed ordinance in the packet? Have you had the chance to read the packet?
Seen it the
Okay.
first
So
time.
I would suggest maybe, Chief Jordan, or Steve, sorry, I don't know the last name, Steve, so I was saying last name.
Yeah.
I apologize. If you want to just give an overview, like a slight one if you want to, if you think that's useful. Like,
Sure.
Yeah, that'd be,
Do you want to do that? Sure.
that'd be great, thank you.
So I will, and let me come over here before I get yelled at for not speaking. I will say this, that there are definitely two components. One
Right.
is, we have a current ordinance, and we wanted to adjust the fines, and then also maybe add a few areas to what's reported as the affected area, which means the, timed parking. So basically what we all think of the 2-hour parking. And then obviously the paid parking is like a new way of doing things. And that would affect the ordinance dramatically, because we essentially would get rid of the 2-hour parking and maybe go to just a timed parking no matter what. But anyway, there are some changes to the ordinance that we currently have, and we can talk to that.
So absent the paid parking, which as the chief just said would be a pretty significant change to the ordinance, nothing else in here is really reinventing the wheel. It's really more of an effort to sort of modernize what we have and, for lack of a better term, consolidate it. The ordinance as it exists has a lot of duplication in it, so we tried to eliminate a lot of that, and then just kind of bring kind of the fines more up to date, and then, as the chief said, expand the area that is part of the inclusion of the 2-hour parking now to include what everyone I think probably recognizes as the bowl.
Exeter Street.
Yeah.
Beyond where
From the blinking light to the bottomage area,
Yeah.
and also Water Street.
in Water Street.
Would that include the Shenda Park lot?
It wouldn't, it would just be parking on Water Street
Okay,
itself. Most of the other streets have either limited timed parking or no parking. Water Street doesn't have any restrictions, so we end up with cars parked there all day, every day. We just kind of want to make it uniform with
Yep.
the other. We're not against them parking there, but if they're going to park there, it should be either the same as Main Street or some of the other locations.
Right, right.
But the Shanda Park parking lot, that would remain the same, no overnight parking. Obviously, the boat trailer parking would be restricted to boat trailers. And then, you can get an overnight pass, that would remain the same.
So I don't know if this is the appropriate time to ask this question, but Water Street is used very heavily by the food pantry on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Is there some provision that can be made for them during those times?
Well, we can change the rules, essentially. We're allowed to change the rules anytime we want to for the town's purposes. We essentially do that now to accommodate them. But when you think about the things for the food pantry, whether it be on Wednesdays when they get the food delivered, there's nobody there for longer than 2 hours. And the same thing on Thursday when people go and pick it up, they're generally not there for 2 hours. But if there were people longer, we'd say the same thing, within the 2 hours, you got to move to a different spot, or we would try and, help out where we can. We're reasonable, especially people that have some sort of walking, difficulties. We try and accommodate that. But as someone who watches over that quite frequently, people picking stuff up are not there for longer than 2 hours, and Same thing with the deliveries. Usually they come in, they unload for 30 minutes, and then they're moving on. So that would be within that 2-hour scope. And again, we can change the rules as the town whenever we want. We can cone off areas. We can, say limited parking for specific things like that.
To kind of echo what the chief's saying, I think that you would actually be doing them a service by adding some regulation to that area for that reason. The folks that do want to come and need to pick up their food can't get as close of a spot because someone will be parked on that one spot for hours and hours on end.
Yeah, it's kind of like a secret that's getting out now that road has no restrictions, so people go park there. It's close to downtown, and they don't have to move, and they don't have to fear about getting a ticket or a warning or anything because there's no restrictions. So on those days when they are having some special event, and generally that's Wednesday and Thursday, sometimes that blocks right up and they can't get anybody in there.
So you said that you're proposing an adjustment to the fine structure. Do you want to just briefly
Sure.
go over that? I mean, it's as you said, it's not anything earth-shattering.
No, yeah, we're not reinventing the wheel.
Right.
Really, all we're doing is simplifying the fine structure. Right now, it's kind of this violation is this much, this violation is that much. We're trying to just make it more uniform and also bring it a little more into line with kind of modern standards. At the end of the day, the purpose of a fine is to discourage someone from doing what you don't want them to do. Just as an example, I would say, I would throw out there, the other day we served a summons for another agency whose one of their parking tickets didn't get paid. Their standard winter ban parking ticket is $75. Ours is $20, and it doesn't seem to have that deterrence effect any longer. So most of the fines we're suggesting go up to a $40 fine amount. We did not adjust the fine for handicap parking, which the state just increased. If we wrote a state summons, their fine is now $500. It went from $250 to $500. We are proposing to just leave that at $250. We feel like that's a fair fine amount for that violation.
As much as we don't want people parking in a handicap spot, that's pretty steep. When people come in and pay that, it's tough. And I don't want anybody parking in a handicap spot, but 500's pretty steep.
What you said? Some other towns, $75. Do you have a kind of an average for the area as far as the parking fines are? Or 40 seems, doesn't seem like quite enough, quite honestly. If I'm honest, and I'm thinking I'll park there for the entire day, and I pay $40.
Yeah, that's kind of the attitude we got with it. That's what we got with the $20 one. So we were kind of looking at it like we're doubling it. I'll be honest with you, ours are much lower. Even the proposed ones, most of them are $75 or in that range. So the University Durham, theirs are like $75. I know because I paid a bunch of my kids. And Portsmouth and some of the other towns.
I'm just thinking, rather than increasing the fines, again in 2 years, might as well move to even if we move to $60, right? That's quite a bit more, but still less than what neighboring towns charge for a fine. I would be supportive of that.
Question, say you write a ticket, the car's still there, when they come back around the next time, you write another ticket?
So we certainly can. We don't, historically, we haven't done that.
If there's one on the car, you just leave it there.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times, we're just thinking the people haven't realized that they're over the time limit or something like that.
Mhm.
We're trying to, be reasonable. But there are times where, for example, there was, in some of the recent snowstorms, somebody parked in one of the parking lots overnight, and we hit them 3 nights in a row with a ticket, and after the third night, we towed the car and put it into an impound. That's more likely, we figure after 24 hours you should know, but generally we don't, unless there's some circumstance, that we C where we know the person knows they're still not supposed to be parking there. But generally, if somebody's parked on Main Street for 4 hours, we're not hitting them with 2 tickets.
I haven't read it too deeply, but do you have the authority to waive tickets?
Yes. And I know the police department has done that for certain situations where people have had some extenuating circumstance, and I think I'm actually very grateful for it because I've known about it from one of my tenants. So I think that's very valuable, and I think everyone realizes they can do that. On the fine feature, I'd be leaning towards going with the police department's recommendation because they're the ones who administer it and feel the brunt of it. We can change it in a year or two. We're essentially, I think, doubling everything. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's more or less
So
double.
that's a big jump. And one thing on the ticket on a car, I know the Newmarket Business Association about 5 years ago considered making fake parking tickets. They could just slip on somebody's car because it was there all day long. And the shock of it, and it was saying, congratulations, this isn't a real ticket. They were talking about creating fake tickets and saying, but please be respectful and honor, seeing that ticket on a car makes everyone realize, whoa, there is enforcement. Because for a few years, we didn't have a lot of enforcement. And so that ticket on a car just wakes everybody up. And now I know it too because I've got people parking in some of our parking lots. Some of the private parking lots are now getting bandit parkers. And I'm got to do more policing because you guys are doing policing.
So I guess that's the other question. How many habitual offenders do you have that you could?
Like a percentage?
Well, yeah, I imagine that how many, not a percentage of all the people parking, because I think that's hard to quantify, but do you have habitual offenders?
100% we have them, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, no question.
We have a group, and it's a mixture. There's this one young lady who she gets a lot of tickets, and she's kind of figured it out now that because if you get so many tickets and you haven't paid them in a certain amount of time, we'll tow the car, which gets much more expensive. And she's just like an absent-minded person, and she's working down there, and I don't think she has bad intentions, but she's kind of a habitual offender. But she'll come in, but then we have some other people that just they don't care, But I talked to a man on the phone, and his daughter is up here, but his car kept getting tickets, and we were sending him to the father, and he's like, well, how many tickets does my daughter have? I go, well, she's got like 17 this month, and he's like, what? So we're like, that's substantial. So,
But that's also to the same point of clearly $20 wasn't enough to influence the behavior. It was like, oh, well, I got another one. Okay.
right. So we do have some habitual offenders.
That's what I'm wondering, is there a way to maybe, I'm not sure how to say this in the ordinance, but if you are a habitual offender, it increases?
It increases if you don't pay the fine on a time.
But the next time, say you do so I'm not sure there's a way to write it because I think you want to discourage that.
What I can tell you is, and I don't know the exact verbiage they chose to use, but I know Portsmouth has wording in their ordinance. If you receive more than 10 parking tickets in one calendar year, whatever your fine would have been for that particular violation, triples. It goes up drastically. if you get more than 10.
In Boston, you get booted after a certain dollar amount
Yeah.
or number of
I guess
tickets.
that's the question. Do we want to go that route? Is it a big enough problem?
I don't think so.
Okay.
We have a few, and I'll be honest with you, the towing of the car seems to cure that. Having your car be towed and you go out there in the morning, it's not there, and having to pay, that fee for the tow is substantial. So that generally seems to cure that issue. So,
Yeah, I believe the towing fee is now $180, I believe. So-
yeah, it's either 150 or 180.
Yeah,
but,
it's up there.
It's definitely up there.
Not as bad as in Montreal, that's for sure.
Yeah, it seems low to me, but there's a ticket on top of the 150 or 180, right?
Yep.
You get a ticket too.
Generally, we wouldn't tow a car till it has at least 3 tickets, when they would have to pay those
Okay.
before they would be able to recover the car.
And did you folks look at the permit fee structure for the overnight parking in some of the locations? Or not at this time?
We really didn't get into that too much because we thought that might come more into play with if we go to the paid parking, more paid parking. That's pretty substantial right now, and we really didn't see a lot of value in increasing that too much. We did talk a little bit about having another section of permits for like construction permit on Main Street, or somebody wants to work on, let's call it wingets, and they want to put a dump truck or a dumpster out front, and they buy a permit for the week. We discussed that a little bit, but we also thought that may be a better thing to deal with if we went to the paid parking, because some of the, and Lieutenant can speak to it a little bit more clearly, but some of the programs allow permit right through the online app or what have you, and it talks about different types of permit, whether it be overnight parking or like construction or something like that.
Yeah, 'cause the one aspect I do feel is the Chandelot fills up with night permits immediately, and some of the others we don't even sell out. And so obviously that's more valuable, and people would pay more. And that pushed some people. It's like, oh, I'm cheap. I'll walk 3 blocks to Railroad, or even Dame Road. We should, I think, include that. Well, think about it at least.
Dame Road is not included right now. Dame Road's completely free.
Yeah.
But we would discuss, this before you was discussing, do we want to include that as, permitted parking? I will tell you this, the Water Street lot and the lot by the library, those sell out every winter immediately. And then people start to move out to the other lots, the one on Bay Road, the one on Railroad Street.
Generally speaking, what we see is at the end of the month when people need to renew them, there's almost a war over who can get in first to renew their spot, and then
Right.
it's like oh hey, well that lot filled, I can give you a spot in Railroad, and people kind of go, okay,
Yeah. Because I do feel that because Portsmouth, they had a parking study, 10 years ago or so, and the consultant had said you don't have a problem that can't be fixed with policy changes. Essentially, it was raise your rates in the center of town, and then have, as you go out, got cheaper and cheaper until it was free at the church. You had to walk 10 minutes.
Yeah, I definitely think that's something we certainly could address, but
Yeah.
again, think that might come in under the paid parking to be able to deal with that.
yeah. Without getting too into that we agreed we weren't really opening that can of
Yeah,
worms
that's
tonight. A lot of the options in that realm would probably drastically alter the way we do permit parking and how people purchase them and what their options would look like. So.
Do you think the ordinance language, the way you're proposing it, would need to be altered if we were to go to paid parking?
It would need to be, because but we're talking about taking the verbiage out about 2-hour parking, but it essentially, I think it's included in there.
I think this is page 3. We're talking about, again, without going too into the weeds here, we're talking about getting rid of the whole section that talks
Right.
about the 2-hour restriction and replacing that with a section that addresses paid parking. And all
Right.
that.
So I guess the question is, would it be better for us to do our due diligence around paid parking, develop an opinion and a report, and bring that to the town council, and then let that decision be made there, so that we don't have to revise this ordinance twice within half a year?
Yeah, I think overall, and
Right.
Bart, correct me if I'm wrong, you kind of wanted to tackle one portion of it, like, one, do we want to change the fine structure, do we want to add these areas, and then also, do we want to consider the paid parking?
Yes.
And then, yes, collectively, maybe bring that to the council,
Yeah.
so it's one change as opposed to trying
Yes, okay.
come up with 2 changes. But we're asking the question, do you even want to consider paid parking? At the very least, we'd love to change the ordinance to update the fines and include some of these other areas. So that's one question we're asking, and then even if you didn't want to do the paid parking, we would still want that. But yes, it would seem to make a lot of sense to me that if you guys can come to a consensus, that we would go to them with one product and say, here's the changes that we want to make one time.
That makes the most sense to me as well. And I think, I mean, we can spend a lot of time talking about the fines, and I mean, it's not that significant a change. I think that we need to spend a ton of time now having a conversation about it. I think since you guys are here, what I would really like to do is to think about how we want to come to a conclusion around the idea of paid parking. Right? You've done some background work, you've investigated what kind of options there are. I think we need to, as a committee, become more familiar and do some research, talk to neighboring communities, some that have gone to this idea a long while ago, some that are fresh and new, like Rochester, so that we can work from the same information level. Now, originally I was going to suggest that we create kind of a working group, so that we can maybe meet a little bit more often than once a month, as we are as a committee, so we can move this forward a little bit quicker and not drag it out for 5 to 6. And when the committee was a little bit larger, I was thinking, some of us might want to do that and some of us might not be interested. But since there are not that many people anymore, maybe we'll all be the working group. And I would hope that one or both of you would be interested in serving on that as well.
I think we could be a part of it.
Yeah.
I will say this, the lieutenant has done a lot of work into the different vendors, and I don't want to speak for him, but he told me essentially that a lot of the vendors would be willing to come and talk to you if that's something that interests you.
Yeah.
So they can give you all the bells and whistles of all their products, and you might hear something that says, "Oh, that really makes sense to me," or "We don't need that." That doesn't make.
Yeah, I think what I think we need to do first is think about what does one use paid parking for, right? What's the objective there? I mean, one, you could say, it's to raise money, right? That's a totally valid point. Parking maintenance, parking spot maintenance costs money, so why not offset that that way? I think that's totally valid. But there are other reasons why paid parking is something that towns and cities utilize, and one is to manage the availability of spots. So you can raise the shorten the time period in certain areas, maybe even during different parts of the day. You can increase the pricing, kind of see where you might need to increase pricing in order to obtain 1 to 2 empty spots per block, something to that effect. So just looking at paid parking as a tool from a management perspective, I think would be something that we should investigate a little bit, so that we can use it in a way that manages our parking in addition to raising revenue.
So I would agree with you 100%, and I think that's the right way to look at it.
Okay.
I've already done a lot of research about paid parking, why cities choose to use it,
Excellent.
How they use it, and that's absolutely the takeaway. I think people get kind of a bad opinion about paid parking because they see it as, this is just the town trying to make more money. Does that happen? Yes, that is absolutely I don't want to call it an unintended side effect, but yeah, that's part of the equation for sure.
Right.
Ultimately, it is 100% a tool, and a far more effective tool than a 2-hour parking limit to help encourage business growth by making sure that parking is available. And it comes with other fringe benefits too. A lot of cities find that it actually reduces accidents because now there's less people circling the block looking for that parking space because their space is available.
Yep.
It encourages, in certain instances, pedestrianism because people will go use the municipal lot and walk because they don't want to pay for that space, and maybe another person is more okay with paying for it, and they choose to, or whatever. There's a lot of fringe benefits that kind of come along with it, and 100% I agree. It's a tool that if you use well, works really, really well.
Yeah. Did you come across any communities that did dynamic pricing?
I did look at a study, actually, of all places out of Washington, D.C. I would suggest that that's probably a little bit, I guess let me back up. What do you mean by dynamic pricing?
Different prices during certain times of the day.
Okay. The study I looked at that DC did, they got super into that, like where it was changing on like an hourly basis.
Yeah.
That's probably beyond our, like that's overkill for our purposes.
Yeah.
But we did look at, and the majority of towns around us do change their pricing depending on
Okay.
certain factors. Mostly, usually, how long you stay. The longer you
Yeah.
stay, the more it starts to cost, and that generates that turnover that you're trying to achieve.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right, and we could do free hours, say we want to do free after 7 p.m. or something like that.
Absolutely.
So my big concern, I just don't know how it'll work out until we put it into place and then decide, oh wow, this is really hurting the economic development of our downtown. If people are going to Epping and going other places, from Durham, for instance, it's free at night. So would that change anybody and change, the clientele downtown? And we wouldn't, I don't think we'll ever know until we do it and then look at it. And I think there could be a perception, and that perception could be wrong. So at one point I was thinking, well, maybe we should, interview all of the business owners, get their, just like a questionnaire, what do you think about it? Some people will think it's great, some people won't, but we just don't know until we do it. So the big question there is, would we be locked into a contract with any of these companies? Or can we just cancel it after a year and not be locked in for 5 years?
I don't think you would necessarily be locked in. They're all pretty flexible. They've already built this wheel. Like we're not coming up from the ground up with this. I spoke to 6 different vendors, all of which were willing to come give their spiel directly to you folks if you want that. Everybody kind of has a little bit of their own flair on how to do this. So I can't give you like a definitive yes or no answer to that because everybody's a little bit different.
Right.
I just wanted to say one thing, Mike, and you said that it could potentially discourage people, but I think it could potentially encourage people
exactly.
because if you're a person,
I
an
know your
older
mom won't
person,
come downtown. She'll go to Epping.
right?
She
Some
refuses
people
to come
won't
downtown.
go downtown because they're like, I can never find any parking.
After you've circled
And-
the block 3 times.
And if they know that there's going to be an option for them,
Yeah.
they might be willing to pay $5. Where another guy, like the lieutenant said, might say, "Well, I'm going to go park in the parking lot and
Right.
walk." Because, so I do think there's a potential to encourage, get those people that don't feel like they can come down there now. So and you said it. Until we do it, we really won't know how this is going to play out.
I just think it'd be good to be able to have that. This isn't quite right for us. The other aspect I consider is kind of the microeconomics of it. How much do they take? How much of the percentage of the, because that's cash leaving town.
And again, everyone is different. They each have their own pricing model, and they all, they're all making their money.
Yeah.
But certainly, it varies quite a bit vendor to vendor.
Yeah.
I already have my own opinion of what makes the most sense. Just haven't talked to them all.
Yeah.
But from one to the next, it's totally different. Some charge, a flat X number of cents on top of whatever we charge. Some do that and charge, a percentage
Right.
beyond that. It really, really depends is the short answer, who you go with and how you want to structure. Some of them even offer different pricing models, or not pricing models, I'm sorry, different payment terms, if you will, where we can be our own merchant of record, which I would just tell you that every parking manager I talked to in the state of Hampshire said, do not under any circumstances do that. But they offer it. Like there's a lot of options is basically what I'm trying to tell you. And to your point about if we were to implement this and say, hey, this is not working, all of them we can call up and go, hey, we need to change the way we're doing this. We want to reduce the rate, we want to increase the rate, we want to get rid of this zone, we want to add a zone. Like it's very, very flexible.
Yeah. No, because I know the town has got locked into some software at one point in time, and we're pooched. We had it for 10 years. That's it. We got locked in, and there was a contract, and we couldn't get out of it, so we just had to keep that software. That was, so that's something that I'd like, it'd be good if we weren't locked in for a long term, that we had to do it if we decided that it's not quite right.
I'm sure
Maybe they're
like
a different company.
I'm sure like most places they probably have, like, hey, if you give us a 5-year, it's this price. If
Right.
you give us a 1-year, and it may be worth it to us to say, well, we want to test this out for 1 year, so
Right.
maybe we go a little bit higher. But I think that's why having them come in and talk to everybody, and you guys can, formulate your own
Yeah.
opinions about why you think that's a better choice. We're just trying to bring some information, and hopefully everybody can work together to find a consensus, because we know we're not the only opinion that matters here. So.
And I guess the other question I'd have, and it might be more for the council, would there be a parking fund where it's a designated fund balance, not rolled into general fund?
It would be
That's,
Yes.
I think that's important, because parking does cost money. And that could build something to create something down the road that we say, hey, we've got this opportunity on this piece of land, let's pave it and stripe it, and would have the money sitting there. So that'd be great.
In my opinion, I think it's a good way to sell it too. It's like your money's being reinvested into
Mhm.
downtown
Yeah,
infrastructure. So
yeah.
It's not leaving,
And
besides the fees.
it may, help facilitate. We always hear the mythical parking garage that's gonna, show up somewhere, but it could facilitate that.
Yeah, well, I see surface parking somewhere in the
Yeah.
future.
Yeah.
I don't know where,
Piece
well,
of
actually, I've got
piece
ideas.
of property or something.
Yeah.
And it may help have the funds,
Just
to
grade
draw
it, pave
upon.
it, and stripe it.
Yeah,
And I wouldn't be opposed to, I've always felt like there'd be more incentive for the police to do parking enforcement if they got a cut of the pie. And if there was some, say, hey, 10% of fines.
yeah.
I mean,
I don't think that that's possible here.
No.
State of New Hampshire frowns upon that for the most part.
Oh, is that because of the
Yeah.
speeding ticket things?
Well, we don't get money from the speeding ticket. That state police a little bit different, but we don't get it. So in Massachusetts, the towns get half of whatever, and believe me, everyone's like, "Oh, you guys are just trying to get revenue." But I think that if we end up with paid parking, there's probably going to be, like, we have a parking officer now. I foresee that if we go to that, we may add some more employees to help manage that. But I don't know, getting us involved in the revenue part of it. Is the town's getting the revenue for what is an asset of the towns, and I think that's the benefit that everybody should
And I could see
hopefully
your
focus
parking
on.
enforcement officers being paid out of that fund.
Yeah, maybe
You know.
maybe that might be a way, if that the town can figure that out. That might be a way
Yeah.
to help. But
I think it's an opportunity to think about the parking infrastructure as an asset, a town asset, and a revenue stream that can maintain, expand, make it attractive, and utilize it in a managed way, so that there's that study that I read, and I can't remember where it came from or whatever. No, it's just a while ago. Before, it was last month, and I probably wouldn't remember if it were yesterday. But the idea that you're managing for a certain number of empty spots per block, I think, is really attractive to me, because one of the issues that we have is that we have a fairly tight block on Main Street that is very attractive to people, where people want to be parking, and that is essentially full on a Saturday or a Friday night or a Thursday night, whatever. And if we can get to a place where there will be 1 or 2 spots available at any given time, I think that would be amazing. It would make driving to downtown to pick something up much more feasible. You just need a spot for 15 minutes, but I can't find one, so I'm not going to go there. But this way you could. And so I think there are some potential benefits to parking management that I think could be economically for downtown businesses be very good. And as I said, for the if we think about the infrastructure as an asset, and this might be a way to to improve on that asset and to utilize it better, and to appreciate it more. So you have something that looks attractive, so you want to use it, rather than something that's it's serviceable, but I'm not quite sure what the rules are really, or where I should So I think there's a big upside. What's the downside? Right? I think thinking about revenue is always attractive. It's always good. But what's the potential downside? And I think we need to be clear about that too, so that we can weigh this in a meaningful way. So and there may not be one. There may not be one, because the downside would be we don't do anything, and everything stays the way it is. Okay, we could do that, but in my opinion, I'm kind of where you are. We should at least be willing to try something out for a while, just to see if there's if the promises that are made are some that we can realize. So that's kind of where I would lean without any information, or any concrete information. And I do want to. I do think that having an opportunity to hear from vendors would be very helpful. I know you've done quite a bit of research already and conversation, so whatever you have that could be shared with the entire committee, that would be really nice, so that we can start from a good spot. And then my suggestion is that we do connect with some select neighboring towns to just talk about something like, so you went into this, what were your expectations? And what of those expectations was realized? Or what were some effects that you hadn't anticipated that showed up, good or bad? Just so that we can feel more grounded around this. And it may not be nearly as complicated as I'm anticipating it might be. Or it doesn't have to be that complicated. We are a small town after all. But I think it's an exciting opportunity to explore this as a way to manage parking and realize some revenue that could increase parking opportunities in town, which is something that people have been arguing for a long time.
For a very long
Before we spend $30 million
Yeah.
or 10 million.
I think it would be interesting to also, when we talk to other towns, hear what resistance they came up
Yeah.
against in public opinion, because just scuttlebutt around town talking to people, oh, I'm on the transportation committee, the idea of paid parking is, well, we're just a small town, don't turn us into a big city, and
Yep,
there's some resistance there.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I definitely have heard that too.
Yeah.
People are like, we're the last holdout, parking's free, we should keep it that way. So there's no system that's going to be perfect for everybody one way or the other. But that's why I think there's opportunities to offer free parking for the first hour, or and then you're still getting free parking, or maybe it's the first 2 hours. But collectively we could all decide that. I will say this, although I've heard that, I've heard many more complaints over the years that there's no parking and we don't do anything to address the parking, and that it never changes, and that's been going on for 20 years. We've been having this discussion and we haven't found a solution, and
Yes.
and so far this to me sounds like one of the solutions that could help help actually affect some change as far as controlling or managing the parking. And but you're right, I've heard that too, like people, especially some people that have lived here for a very long time, are like, I've never, now I'm gonna have to start paying to park downtown.
Yeah.
But those same people are the people also telling me that there's no parking. So,
Well, the idea, I know Dover has the 30 minutes, first 30 minutes are free, and that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Because you can't go out to a meal, which is what a lot of our downtown encompasses, but you can certainly, run in and drop something off or stop in a shop or do something quick. So I think that's an important thing. And I just wanted to say that I think hand in hand with, people resisting is, I think we have to be careful about the rollout in terms of
Yep.
not doing it, doing it and then just saying, oh, mistake, and undoing it. I think we need to think carefully. I was wondering, do you have any sense? I mean, I know these companies are probably very well-oiled machines. Once we hit the go button, how long is implementation? What's the lead time between us saying go and having this implemented? Do you have
The
any
short
idea?
answer is that's kind of up to us.
Okay.
They are a well-oiled machine, and they will work with us to build what we want to build. And I say that if you're familiar with like downtown Portsmouth, there's different parking zones, there's all these different things, and then Dover, by contrast, it's just everything is one, you just pay, it doesn't matter. They'll work with us to do that, and that will happen more or less as quickly as we want it to. And really, I think, if I'm understanding your question correctly, I think it's really the onus is on us as the police once this goes live, if we go that route, to educate people. It's not that day one where they're going, oh, you didn't pay, here's a ticket, you didn't pay, it's that rollout and then the first impression of this, I think, is more on us to get that information to people versus.
So there's not a lot of hardware that has to be put out or anything like that. This will all be app-based probably.
That would be my recommendation. Just from I've talked, like I said, a bunch of vendors. I've talked to a number of our neighboring communities that are already doing this. Only one was really advocative of the kiosks and the meters. Everyone else I talked to said those are antiquated. We're getting rid of ours. Nobody uses them. So the short answer is there's not a lot of rollout. The app-based companies all universally will provide the signage for free.
Okay.
Then it's just on us to get the signs
Get the
up.
signs up.
And that signage just takes time to make based on how many zones and however we decide we want to go about that.
And is there any advantage, I think we might have discussed this as a group before, looking at what neighboring towns are doing and utilizing a firm that neighboring towns
Yep.
are using? Is there an advantage to
You mean the
us?
same app?
The same app, or
yeah.
the same vendor?
Yeah. I think there is a.
I can answer that if they want. I certainly have an opinion on the question. Yes. One company in particular that I talked to already has 2,500 registered users that list their home address as being in Newmarket. That's a huge portion of our population already that already have and use their app.
That's a lot.
Wow.
It's
Wow.
tremendous.
That's what a quarter of the
In my mind,
population.
that's sort of,
Only a portion of the
wow,
Dover
okay,
one.
that's.
Right.
Wow.
I mean, there are really two, for the most part, in our general area. There's Park Mobile and there's Flowbird. Park Mobile just bought Flowbird. So for how much longer there will be Flowbird, I don't even know. But that would be sort of the heir apparent, I guess, for lack of a better term. There's already a ton of people here using that app, familiar with how it works, already set up their payment information, their vehicle information. All of that's already there.
Okay.
So yeah, I think there's a tremendous benefit to that versus going to some other app where people are going to go, great, now I got to download this other thing and set up this other thing. I think there is a benefit, to making that as painless as possible for folks.
Okay.
I do think that the rollout and the communication around it and transparency around the decision-making process is going to be very important to plan well, and it shouldn't fall on the police department's shoulders to do that. I think that's shirking responsibility. You guys shouldn't bear the brunt of whatever you're going to hear. I mean, you're going to hear whatever you're going to hear anyways, but I think there's real benefit to taking our time to communicate this well. Visitors will always find out however they find out anyway, but I think we should that should be one of the questions I would be one of the questions I would have for neighboring towns, how they did that, how they approached that, and what their feedback is. And I'm sure that we can learn a lot from other towns. And
Yeah,
the approach.
I think it's going to take the whole town to get the message out. But I think what the lieutenant was referring to is that at least initially, some consideration that people may not know how to operate the system, and some forgiveness if they go, I tried to download it and I couldn't download it, and that somebody gets a ticket or something.
I think one of the issues around the app is what if you don't? I know that the numbers are shrinking, whatever. But what if you don't have a phone that can hold an app? You don't know what that is even, or whatever.
All of them have a phone number you can call. They all have some other mechanism that you can still.
Well, that still requires the phone piece. So I'm just thinking, like, what is there a way to pay if you don't have a phone?
That's where the kiosks come in, but then people are finding that these kiosks just don't get used, but they put them in case somebody didn't have a mobile phone, and then the kiosk sits there and doesn't get used, and then they say, wow, do we really need this thing?
Yeah.
And the company probably charges you for it.
Yeah.
Our main street is crowded.
What's that?
Our main street is crowded. So the idea of
well,
adding
the snow
kiosks
removal
is,
thing is a real problem. And that's last time we had this discussion about paid parking, like 10 years ago. Public Works is very much against it because of snow removal. They do an amazing job, but they also don't need more stuff in their way.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're really running into lack of real estate, is unless you hang it on somebody's building, which you need an easement for, a permission of some sort.
Yeah, Public Works is in favor of no kiosks, the sign approach
Kiosks
works.
honestly come with a tremendous amount of drawbacks, and the only benefit is that somebody who flat out just doesn't have a phone can use that. That's the benefit of those.
That's also a question that some of the vendors may be able to,
Yeah.
give you some information on, because, as he said, places are getting rid of the kiosks, so they're finding a way to do it, and I just don't know if it's so few and far between that don't have a phone. And I don't want to say that doesn't happen out there. I'm sure it does, but
Yeah, I just want to be able to have
It's an excellent question.
right. I have answers to that, and
Right.
and
and
what
these
one
other
of the,
places are managing it, so
Right.
it might be a good idea to say, how do you guys do this? Because it does come up, and
exactly.
maybe we could have a central kiosk.
Why can't we just put like a mailbox,
Like-
like you just put in money? We make a like nice
Little
design,
envelope.
put it in, and then
If we do have vendors come, the one thing that I would like them to be prepared for is to have a list of similar sized communities that they service. Because certainly, Portsmouth and Dover, they're different animals than Newmarket is, but we're not Newfields either. We're not Lee.
Right.
We're somewhere in the middle. Are there people of our size, and if they could come with a list of 3 similarly sized communities they service, and we can go ahead and do some background checking on those similarly sized communities.
size, or I think it's more context than just size, because you still say
Right, there is going to be that element of it, because population doesn't always talk about parking needs.
Where I live, it's probably the same size as Newmarket. Maybe Newmarket's a little less, but they have a beach there that generates a lot more revenue.
Right.
So, right. So
But-
it's like, I think it's just more. Can we find a place that's like Newmarket?
Similar to Newmarket, sure.
Yeah.
Something like
Yeah,
that, so they just give us
close as
3
possible.
names that we can do, because salespeople are always salespeople. I don't trust them a whole bunch.
The majority of the ones I talked to already pointed to, I won't necessarily say specifically similarly sized, but neighboring, and their view is a little more global than ours. When I say
Yeah.
neighboring, I got, hey, we do Newburyport, we do Manchester, we do not just Portsmouth, Durham, Dover. I got,
Yeah.
a lot of them were quick to say, oh,
But
we're already doing X, Y, and Z.
Those
in
are
your
all
area.
a lot bigger than us, though.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm getting to, smaller demand, because
Well, maybe that's a question to ask, though. Does it really matter how big the town is? So we may only be the size of a Portsmouth neighborhood,
that's true.
but the issues within that area are what they are. So
Yeah,
does it
well, that's-
matter whether there are, right?
And
So
I would just offer as well, just if we want to use Durham as an example, the majority of parking in Durham really belongs to the university. What Durham's doing for parking is probably very comparable to what we would be doing.
Right, yeah.
The majority of the spaces you see aren't really Durham's. They're,
Right,
they're
right,
the universities.
yeah.
that's true.
No, and I do know in Dover, there's a parking lot, it's a private parking lot, and they use a different app than the town does.
Yep.
So there's that little complexity too. Oh, this isn't a town lot. You think it is,
Right.
but it isn't.
I guess another question to maybe ask or consider is there any impact to neighboring streets when you create a paid parking zone? That is there a kind of a push into streets where there is no paid parking, and how can that be handled?
There's no parking, street parking.
Right. So, but
I'm sure that there will be. I mean, we're talking about managing traffic.
Yes.
You're
Right.
going to push people.
yes.
Yeah.
So those are issues we'll have to address
Exactly.
with enforcement.
We had a nice wayfinding, they'd be pushing to the satellite lots.
Yeah.
Right.
Honestly, if we can get people to the satellite lots,
satellite lots?
that's one of the goals,
Yeah,
right?
that's a win.
Where are
Have
they?
somebody park in those lots and then walk downtown.
It,
You know?
it really is. I mean, typically park at the church when we go to Portsmouth. I walk into town. It's a fair walk. It's a beautiful park. I walk through.
Yep.
It's gorgeous. I'm too cheap to park in a parking garage, and I like that walk.
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly.
Park back here, shows park all the time.
But I think that's a piece into it, like neighborhoods, and then the question of the complementary work around making the satellite lots, the parking lots more attractive and visible, and the walk from that lot to where people want to go be clear through wayfinding, or also be like the Dame lot, for example, going from there to downtown it's not very far.
No.
If you walk the way you drove in, it's this is silly. I don't want to do that. But there's a cut through, right? And if we have signage for that,
Yeah.
then it's an attractive place to walk. It could be a very attractive place for people to park, because you kind of walk into town and you experience the town already from a really nice perspective.
Lieutenant, didn't you say there was one of the apps that also showed you where available parking was? I thought you said something like that there was some sort of mapping thing.
All of them have some version of a map where you can see where, when you say available parking, that means like spaces exist, not necessarily that they're,
Right.
because the app tracks your parking purchase by plate, not location.
Yeah, I
But-
just didn't know if it would
Doesn't
also
geolocate it.
show the map, show the parking lots or something.
That makes sense.
Okay, yeah, you could do, you could
You
set
know,
it up
so if
that
somebody
way.
says, "Where's an available place?"
Right.
Would it show the Bay Road law? Would it show?
I can't speak for all of them, but I think at least two come to mind that I'm very confident would be able to say, here's where the satellite lots are.
I guess you could at least for the I think it's I don't know if Portsmouth uses Park Mobile, but I think they do.
Yep.
I do.
And they have parking zones, so you could assign a zone to each lot
Yeah,
if you want, if you had to.
If everybody paid, it shows that it's there, but the people who are illegal, it shows there's a spot open, but there's no bandit parker there. Because they haven't paid,
Right.
so they don't see it.
Bandit parking, that's good. I like
But-
that.
I do see, certainly I know that there'll be more concern of the private parking lot owners, because more people will be pushing into those. I mean, that's a chronic thing that all the private property, lot owners are dealing with. People illegally park, and we put up threatening signs saying you will be towed, and we might not tow that often.
Talk to the people that own the Kennebunk Savings.
I can tell you every snowstorm we get plenty of phone calls. Where's my car?
And
Yeah,
that lot's probably full right now.
I guarantee you,
If it snows tomorrow night, they'll
There's-
all be gone.
there's 20 cars can fit in there, the way they parked with two underneath the drive-ups. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's an example of a private lot that is being affected because of the parking.
Yeah.
But like I said, there's no perfect system. We're gonna one thing's gonna cause another, but what I guess we have to look at.
Free lunch.
We have to look at what is the most beneficial, or what accomplishes the goal, which I think is managing the
Yes.
parking down there to free up parking, maybe move people around, and if some of the considerations are that we're going to get some revenue to help manage parking further, then that may be a good option. Who knows? Maybe everybody will look at it and say, no, this isn't worth it. Just leave it as it is. I don't personally feel that way, but
I think too, one more thing is, since the size of the geographic area we're looking at and how our community size, we can adjust quickly. So I think that's the beauty of this, is we can really take in feedback quickly, say, all right, this isn't working, let's do this, let's adjust. So I think we have the organization here to make that happen. So I think that's a positive. And the other thing is just don't let it be perfect. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. So let's just try something.
Yeah.
What Dover did with a lot of parking and traffic stuff is they did experiments for a year, and that's how they also couched it too. Is that, don't worry, this is only we're testing it out. Everyone calm down. It's a 1-year test,
Okay.
and then after 6 months, everyone's used to it, and nobody's complaining.
Well,
They
and
complain
I
like
think-
crazy the first 2 months.
I think to your point, people would have the experience the chief's describing, where they don't like the idea that they have to pay for parking, but the first time they come downtown and they can park because the space is available,
Right.
they're going to, you know what, this was worth the $1.50 or whatever it
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
that will change to what you're saying of, you know what, all right, this is okay.
No, and you'd mentioned that we haven't found a solution, but you know what? Having the parking enforcement officer has changed it dramatically for the better. It is so much better from the downtown business owners. Yes, you well know, we had a couple business owners that park all day long in front of other people's stores, and it drove everybody nuts. But the parking enforcement has been a fantastic addition to the town.
Now, can I ask another question? In your observation, where there is paid parking, are all of the spots lined individually? Because remember, we had this conversation about,
I can't think of a place they're not.
yeah. Okay.
So I think what they're referring to was like, say in front of the Big Bean to where the tattoo shop is. You want to get rid of the lines, right?
Yeah,
But
it was a thought
still,
anyway.
I would still say, if you're parking there, then that's doesn't make a difference whether you're in one particular spot or another, depending on how we set it up. But you would be required to pay parking. But yes, in some of the lots, you'd have to put lines,
Yes.
otherwise people could park over there.
Yeah, it's just the end to end where it's parallel, and when you do it by block, then the need for lines goes away. If you say I'm at this block,
Right.
then it says many as you can
We'd
fit.
spell that out. That
Yeah.
area is not lined off individually, but as a block. But
Yeah,
it helps people, like for example, in front of the post office, to have lines to guide them.
oh yeah, parallel.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
pull-in parking, you absolutely need it. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, and in the parking lots as well.
And you still have the fog line, and DOT is going to want the fog line, even though
Right,
it's
right.
it's a local, it's a urban compact.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They're still going to want the fog line.
Yeah, I definitely think that for the most part the lines are important, but other than areas that we just discussed.
Yeah. Because I've got so many photos of 9 feet between cars.
Yeah.
You've got these two.
Yeah.
We can add probably 3 or 4 spots to the downtown by getting rid of the individual. Some of them are, I think, 24 feet long, and in front of Main Street in Durham, they're 19 feet. So there's a huge difference. They're ready for essentially a box truck, and we don't need that.
Speaking of box trucks, so in the mornings, it's generally in the mornings when the restaurants in town are getting deliveries. How would that be managed? Because right now there are times when. So one restaurant, went through town the other day. A restaurant was getting a delivery during the day, not early in the morning. It was during the day, and the truck was parked in the. I don't know my directions. Near the band.
In the Willie House lot?
No, it was right in the lane.
Okay.
In the lane going out of town toward Durham, but it was just taking up a whole lane.
Yeah.
So traffic was, there was no control or anything. People were just making do.
That is one of the drawbacks, and we have these conversations all the time with these drivers, but the problem is if you have 5 deliveries in a week, you might have 5 different drivers, and you might
Yeah.
have a guy that delivers there frequently, and he knows that he can pull off in front of the bandstand, and then you might have a guy that delivers in Boston, and he parks wherever he wants, and he doesn't care what you have to say. We do try and, talk to them, and another example is right where the corner with the blinking light is.
Oh,
They
yeah.
pull on and just park right there.
Right.
Now, part of the issue is, like, if you're the Riverworks, there's not a great spot for someone to get off there, but we want the businesses to be able to get their goods, and we encourage them to come as early as possible and do that before it gets too busy. Sometimes we'll end up directing traffic around them just to get them out of there quicker, and other times we'll ask them to move to a spot. But it's a drawback, but it's not one that's unique to us. I mean, that
Yeah.
Right.
quite frankly happens everywhere. Now,
It's a feature of urban.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we generally speaking, we try to talk to them and say, hey, here's a better area.
Yeah.
Can you pull here? Can you pull there? But they do a lot of things they're not supposed to do. They pull face in the wrong direction. Block streets. They're notorious for blocking Central Street. And
As I said, I think the majority of them that I've talked to are usually very receptive to that direction.
Yeah.
And usually when you notice the same company doing it again later, you go up to the truck and the guy will be like, I'm just filling in this route today. I didn't know. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like the chief said, you can only do so much, and we're trying to make sure the businesses get what they need.
Yeah.
The same is true
Do that.
oil trucks all over the place. I mean,
Yeah.
they're just,
Amazon, FedEx.
I don't think I've ever seen an oil truck back in the driveway.
no.
And same thing with Amazon.
Yep.
They don't. So we do try and manage it. There is some legality to people loading and unloading that they can stop, as opposed to just an average citizen. Now, I'm not saying that we're excusing that, but we're trying to encourage them to get in and get out as quick as they can. But it's a little bit more difficult than you would think.
Yeah.
I would like to kind of bring the conversation a little bit to a and identify how we're moving forward from here.
Well, would you like to have a representative of, maybe to start off with your top pick company present?
Sure.
Because I think that makes the most sense. I mean, I think it's fantastic. You've done all the research. I think we should stick with, well, probably their top pick to present, and we'll get more definite answers from them, what they can and can't do. And it's really going to also come down to, I mean, we're only going to make a recommendation. The council is going to make the decision.
I think yes, that's true. I totally agree. That's absolutely true. It's up to us to present our recommendation in a way that facilitates that decision making. And in order to do that, I think we would do well in covering all the bases that we've kind of identified. So before we invite a vendor in, I think I would appreciate being able to read your research, or even if it's a report that you've generated based on it, and not all the individual studies or whatever that you perused, and maybe we do. I know that you've reached out to neighboring communities also. Maybe we identify those and then decide who we want to talk to, if anybody, in addition. And I do want to wait and talk with the folks in Rochester, because it's so fresh there, good information, and that we can benefit from, so that we're prepared and have done our research before we have a vendor come out, so we know what questions we want to ask, because I don't know that we have all the questions based on the information that we have, that we would benefit from getting answers to. And then we can, with that information, we can see how we develop a report to the town council. Question is, working group, do we want to meet in between? Do we want to do work, commit to doing work on our own, reading and coming back to the working group? I would prefer that, and I would really prefer to do it, give ourselves a fairly tight timeline to move through this.
just so that not too much time elapses between gathering information, digesting, talking about it, and So, what are your thoughts?
I guess my first question is what's our time frame for implementation? What do we have an end date? Like,
Just-
when do we want to have this? If we're going to go forward with it, when would we want it to be up and running?
I
Can
think
you work back from that?
Yeah, I saw I don't know if the implementation and the up and running, the decision making.
A decision.
Yeah, a
That's-
decision. So that I think the town council would like to be able to make a decision before the end of the fiscal year,
And when
so
is
the end
that?
of June.
June.
Um,
That's
and
quick.
I would like to be much earlier.
So I think we have to deliver to council something for them to consider by the end of June. And then they go through their decision-making process. How long that takes, I'm not going to say.
I would
but-
think that too, after the council's made a decision, it's going to be about 3 more months just for
Yes.
public awareness campaign and getting everything lined up, signage in that's covered, all that jazz. Just, there's going to be a few months of that, and then it would just make sense to have some sort of
And
magical date, it's the 1st of whatever, September, December, January, whatever.
Right, we'll have to have a conversation as to, we can make a recommendation, yes, go forward, and here's a vendor, go forward with that. But I think it would be really helpful if we included also a rollout. Here's how we could do this, based on what we've learned from other towns, so that it's more than a yes or no kind of
Right.
recommendation, but it's more here's how.
Implementation
Yeah.
strategies.
Yeah, kind of a ready-made recommendation around that, because I think otherwise you're right. Otherwise, it's going to take it'll be the end of the year maybe before
Right.
something happens. And since we'll likely have to have that conversation anyways here, we might as well do this all together. That's my feeling around this. Rather than just coming up with a yay or nay recommendation to the
but
council.
I do think that two of the questions we were asking tonight is, one, do we want to change the ordinance?
Yes.
Two, do we want to look towards paid parking? I think we need to answer those questions first. And then, once we know for sure, then we say, okay, what direction do we want to go in if we, in fact, decide that paid parking is appropriate? And, some of those other things you just said, here's how we could foresee it rolling out, answering the questions about do we want
Yes,
to do it?
absolutely.
And the ordinance itself are the first step, and, after that, we can certainly, put things together and say, here's how we're gonna do it. We could change the ordinance, and we don't have to roll it out the next week. We could, work on that. I would say, once we do make the changes we want, that it would be, it wouldn't be that hard to roll it out, and I would think that although you guys could make recommendations to the council, they're gonna have to appoint someone to do that, and that's likely probably gonna be us as far as the orchestrating of it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's exactly what we'll have to do. Decide whether we want to move forward with paid parking. We certainly are charged with looking at it.
Yeah.
We have to make a decision, so that's what we'll do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think
And
as
the
far-
parking ordinance, the ordinance language, I think, we'll read through it, but it seems pretty straightforward, except for that one bit around paid parking that may or may not be in there.
Right, and the changes that we're making are not drastic, other than adding a
Right.
couple areas and then,
Some clarifying.
Removing some redundancy.
My suggestion is take the time to read through the language.
Mhm.
Everyone's good, we're good with the language, we know we're gonna roll with, if with the paid parking or not. And so that's good, that's all set. Then we focus primarily on, okay, do we do paid parking? Well done.
Exactly.
yeah,
I think
and-
everything-
and then
Yep.
get the information about the different types of vendors
Exactly.
and say, okay, we want to bring this one, want to bring that one, compare them or what have you. He has a lot of information, and do you think if you could forward it to Bob?
Yeah, I
you
can
could
forward
just-
you,
That'd be wonderful.
this is kind of already what he asked for, is a summarized explanation of who I talked to and what they told me.
That's the book in your hand?
Yeah.
Perfect, that's it. PDF over. PDF.
Oh, yeah.
That's sweet.
We're gonna make
Damn
copies and
fast.
we'll-
You guys doing binders?
No, binder's good too.
We'll pick up our binder at the
Yeah.
police station.
Yeah, I want to thank both of you for working on this because it's been the number one concern amongst businesses and customers for as long as I can remember. Everybody's complaining about parking. That's the number one concern in the surveys we've done. You know, it's not dogs running at large. It's always parking. You know.
Yeah, I got to give him a lot of credit. He's done a lot of work on this. He's talked to a lot of different people. I think I've lived here long enough that I've known, and I've been on the committees long enough that I'm like, we got to do something, and we're just not doing anything. It never changes. So, and I think technology-wise, I'm not up to, I'm not advanced, but I went to Portsmouth and used it, and I'm like, this seems like a simple program.
You're a test case.
Yeah, and I'm like, if I can figure this out, I think pretty
Even
much
old
anybody
people can do it.
figure it out. And now that I have it in my system, anytime I go to Portsmouth, it's so simple. So, for me, the feeling that I got in Portsmouth was, I was happy to know that I paid to park legally. I wasn't going to come out and get a ticket.
Right.
And wherever I was, if I got, delayed or whatever, I could see how much time I had, and I could
That's a
add,
cool feature.
which is very nice because I was always worried when I was
Yeah.
parked over there. Was I'm in the right spot, but you knew that you were
Yeah.
because But so anyway, I that's how I think we came to this is
Yeah.
like we figured we got to do something, and other people are doing this, so let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's see what
Yep.
they're doing and see if we can figure out a system for us.
Sounds great. Thank you.
So you're good with us using your image with a phone? I can do it.
If I can do it, anybody can do it. Yeah,
That'll be our rollout. You'll be our rollout
Thanks.
mascot.
Okay, I don't want to be on the committee anymore. So.
Where's the chief?
I probably shouldn't have said that on a recording.
I say a lot of things that I shouldn't say.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
All right,
thank you
Thank you very much.
That was much more fun than I had feared. So it's cool. All right, so a working group. Are you? Is
So
this?
it has
this
to be
I-
at least two of you.
Yeah.
Quorum.
Is this? Does it make sense to do that rather than
I'm
a
fine with
monthly
it. I
meeting?
will be unavailable for a little bit here coming up, but you talking in 2 weeks or when would the meeting be?
Well, that's-
Well, two people's a quorum now.
Yeah.
So-
one of you.
Right. So it doesn't have to be me.
One person subcommittee?
This is a
Um,
working group, so you work on this, and then we could always share. So, and then provide feedback. So the way I can say, one person physically comes in, we do the working group, and then what we do, me and Lindsay could.
I mean, we can-
distribute it out, and then we get comments from you all.
And it can be just a regular committee meeting too, I suppose.
We gotta notice it.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
So just one
So,
person.
working group, we can email each other, all right, it's not a noticed meeting. So we can just email each other and that is helpful and then we can also
Well,
not worry about.
it can't be like email
It
to
has to be a
share
public
documents
meeting.
and because if there's conversation on the topic via email, that's
Right, yeah,
discussing
but
it.
still-
So
You
it
have-
still
don't-
has to.
Don't you have to notice the meetings anyways?
Yeah, I do, but
Right.
it's not a big deal. There's just more procedure. And you can be can't do it in our office. Has to be in here, in the public space. Which is not, it's fine.
Okay, I'm confused. So
It's more flexible if it's probably just one person, unless you all want to participate, which is great if you do. But the way I see it is one person working with staff, and then afterwards we share. A staff person shares with everyone what we did, and then they can provide feedback to me. So they email me directly because I'm emailing all of you. So if you communicate through me,
Mhm.
then I can communicate to you all. So it's basically a separation.
And if we had two, then it would already be a quorum, would already be a committee meeting.
Correct.
Right.
Hmm.
Unless you appoint someone next meeting. Council, which I think the agenda was posted today, so, or finalized.
Yeah.
What do you think, Madeline?
I'm a little confused about how all this works, because we're not supposed to communicate ideas and thoughts and things via email directly,
You're not supposed to
Outside of
have
the
the
public.
discussion
have the discussion
via email. You're supposed to have the discussion
in the
in
public
public
forum.
at the meetings,
Okay.
public forum. So the emailing, when you start getting replies or sharing on documents, is having the discussion via email. So that's the part to avoid.
I see.
But emailing each other a document or a request without the reply all and correspondence on it is totally fine. It's not that you can't email each other or like Bart
Right.
sharing, this is the information, as long as there's not back and forth discussion about those things. That's totally fine.
Okay.
So you can share one way, but not respond all,
Right.
essentially. Is that
Yeah.
what you're saying?
Basically, just limit the discussion
Yeah.
via email.
Mm-hmm.
You can share information and that's fine.
I mean, if you really want to be clean, the best way is share with me and Lindsay, and then we send it off to you.
I'm not really that worried about the sharing. I just want to kind of speed up the process a little bit so that we don't have a whole month elapse every time before we can have another conversation and move it forward.
Right.
So I just like to condense the time in between a little bit. And if I don't know if everybody needs to participate, but I don't want to suggest that I mean, there's only 3 of us, so it's not like it's this huge group that we would have to accommodate. And if there's a willingness to meet in between, maybe
You
that
can
would be
certainly
enough.
do that.
Rather than some working group mode that we're all not familiar with, right? So, what do you think, Mike?
I just know that I won't be available from the 23rd until the 5th. So I'll be out for any meetings for a little period of time.
Well, that's just a week or so, right?
Yeah, a couple of weeks, yeah.
Yeah. What about you? How do you feel about the idea of a working group versus an additional meeting in between the,
I think a working group is probably a little more nimble,
okay.
I mean, I'm hitting, we're starting growing season, so I'm going to be really busy from, it's already starting.
If you have any extras, by the way, I'll happily take them. If you seed out too much and
My grandson helped me start the lettuce,
already.
and every pot had like 8 plants in it. So I spent today separating, so I think I have like 60
There you go.
lettuce plants. So if anybody needs lettuce plants, maybe we'll sell them for $1 each to get seed
Okay,
money for the
so I
garden.
guess the consensus is to working group it.
Sure. And what date are you looking at?
I'm not yet. I haven't yet at all. I'm open for,
Can we do that offline?
yes, we could do that offline for sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it sounds like you're the working group with Bart and I.
I guess so. Okay. All right. Yeah,
was
I
that,
can
was
do
I misunderstanding, or was that kind of he has limited availability, she has limited availability for working group meetings, so it leaves you as the one to meet with staff and
that. Okay.
That'd be nimble.
Are you okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
Are you okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I mean,
I think that we're going to have plenty of time for input throughout this.
I hope so.
I think that, while we all have a vested interest in the outcome of the downtown parking,
Yes.
I have, strong concerns, but I think we're going the right way.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's why I really think it's important that we do this as a trial basis. and everyone be ready to say, you know, that didn't go as well as we hoped,
Yeah.
and be able to pull out of it in a year. I do believe we have to try any traffic change. I think you have
Yeah.
to give it a long time.
And
So-
I think that there's a lot of opportunity for adjustments within the idea of paid parking or parking
And
management.
there's the political aspect, which is, I guess not our concern completely, but, I in some degree, I'd really be interested, well, actually, Bart would think about a survey of residents or of stakeholders, because essentially we're here serving the public, and to get input from the public may not be a bad thing. Although it might quell some comments after the fact that people, you didn't even ask us, and we're the ones most affected, and those type of comments.
Maybe.
But surveys could be expensive.
Yeah, I've also, and I think the lieutenant referenced that as well. I've read that the plenty of examples of people who were initially against the idea, and then once it was implemented, realized that this was really smart. This is really helpful.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure whether a survey would
Or maybe
yield
just
anything.
publicizing it, whether it's a Friday newsletter, letting people say, hey,
Yeah.
this is being discussed.
Yes. I think that's
Email in.
Yep, I think
how
that's
do you
good.
say now?
Yep, I agree.
It always seems bad when we surprise the public.
do not surprise
Yeah, note to
Just
self,
writing that
never
down?
again, and write that 1,000 times.
the public.
Do not surprise the public again. Do not surprise.
Right.
Well,
Oh.
the communication with the public is really a thing, because, even on what the hell's going on in Newmarket, people will put things on there asking, oh, this and this happened, or there was one about one-way roads just this past month. And nobody seems to know where to go with those issues, so they're putting them out on Facebook and saying, this is a problem,
Yeah.
So I always end up putting a note saying, call Lindsay Butler.
No, just call the town. Call the town.
No,
Because
Call the town.
I say call the town.
everybody in the
Call-
town will steer it in the right direction, and they're so true. There's so many misnomers that float around out
Yeah.
there, and don't get your information from the guy in the bar stool next to you.
Right.
Call the town.
But it
Depends
does
on who
seem
it
that
is.
People don't seem that, there seems to be a little bit of a issue with that.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
if you call the town, you're going to get the information you need,
yeah.
or be directed to
You
the
get a
person
real
that can
voice.
help
Oh,
you.
we usually get them on. You don't always get a real voice. I was going to say you get a real person answering the phone.
All right, so we'll set up a process for the working group offline, and we'll move that forward, and then share anything and everything that we find, so that we're all prepared for the next meeting. And the least we should all commit to doing is reading through the ordinance and noting any oversights or any suggestions that we might have for further clarification, or any questions that the proposal generates, so that we can finalize that at the next meeting.
The one thing I think we should be prepared for is there will be parking increase outside of the main street, out of the target area. And we just should be just totally aware of it, and kind of a plan for how it's going to look, and really be looking for additional parking opportunities where people can park for
Yes.
3 hours and
I
walk
agree.
2 blocks.
I think that one of the things that's kind of exciting about this is how it does it coincides with the the wayfinding RFP and the opportunity there to basically implement this right away with signage, and also think about moving foot traffic from outlying lots.
I think one of the things that's really exciting that they alluded to, and I guess when we talk to the vendors we'll find out, is the idea of, I'm downtown, I can't find a spot, and then they're going to say, well, there's a satellite spot, it's a 4-minute walk.
Yeah.
I think that might actually reduce what we need in terms of wayfinding. You know, it'd be interesting to see
Yes.
how these apps are gonna work in
Yep.
terms of that. I think it's gonna help a
Yep.
lot.
Yep. I think, I agree. I think that's certainly valid.
I think I'll get the phone all the time while they're walking.
Yeah, I think that's one of the downsides. You know, it might become a traffic hazard. Are we okay with moving on to? Do you want to do a little update on the wayfinding RFP?
Yes, it's out. It's published. We got 2 interested parties so far.
Oh, good.
Firms. So they just asked some questions. So I've been responding to them. So I think we'll get some bids.
Nice.
Bids are due April 8th. So we'll have hopefully a couple to review and look at, and I suppose when's our next meeting?
Yeah, before our next meeting.
Yeah. So.
Next meeting would be
Might be-
April after,
it's April
well after Easter.
April 8th our next meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that day,
Yes.
I can report at least how many bids we got. And go from there.
Cool.
So yeah, so that's good, that's exciting, it's happening. Road typologies, still working on edits. So I don't want to overburden the group. So whenever you're ready or when you want to see it, we'll make sure to get you a draft. But I am still working on it. So, but it's coming along well. And I'd like to kind of segue to complete streets. If you're not aware, Exeter had a great work done by Rockingham Planning Commission on developing a complete streets program for Exeter. And I can share the document if, I can't remember if you shared it with the group yet or not, but I can share with folks. But it's a fabulous presentation, piece of work. So learning from them and then attributing when we use things. So anyways, kind of incorporated that potentially into the road standards in some way, or if it's not within the road standards policy,
Mhm.
when the town does work. So that's a bigger project overall. However, the standards, I'm confident the next month or 2 will be done. At least a draft for you all.
Yeah, I think I think it's probably wise for us to really focus on the parking piece.
Yeah.
And not clutter ourselves. We only have so much time.
And that kind of segues to this.
Yes, the goals.
Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you for putting this into a very clear and easy to follow format in this table. I really like that. Helps me a lot. Connects to the master plan, and it basically lists the steps that we had agreed upon at the last meeting. The wording may be a little bit different, but I think it's all recognizable. And you note that the public parking initiative is on there as well. So that's nice. We probably could use a little bit of projecting out as far as when what.
Do you want me to take a stab at that?
If you are willing to do that, so that we kind of plan out the rest of the year a little bit and with
Okay.
more or less overlap. For example, I'm really interested in the Cedar Street demonstration project because it's an outreach project. It's responding to a concern that people came to us with, and it's an opportunity to do something fun outside, which is also cool. So in saying that. That's like the a warm weather
project. Lindsay, do you have any thoughts around how this is only referring to the narrowing of the mouth of Cedar Street, how that could be accomplished with what we have, and or if there's anything that we don't have that we should contact Stratford Regional Planning around to see if they have any ideas or implements that we could borrow.
Well, I think it may depend on how pretty we want it to look. We have Jersey barriers and standard traffic barrels that can be put out, but we don't have fancy planters or decorative types of ways to narrow that up.
A Jersey barrier is about 6-8 inches.
At the top.
At the
the top,
top,
yeah.
but at the base it expands out.
Right. Well, I was just thinking, if it's wide enough, a planter, we're putting a planter on top, if that was something to make it look nicer, wouldn't be that difficult, I think. Do they have to stay in pristine condition in order to be
What's the
usable?
condition right now? But if it's smooth.
It's a little rough.
A little rough?
So I have an idea, if you guys are willing to do this, to tell you. When I was in Kittery during COVID, in the Foreside,
Yeah.
we hired local artists to paint the barriers. So, if that's something to spruce it up, if you will, we can make it more interesting than, this gray slab
Yep.
concrete.
Yeah, I'm about community aesthetics, and I am not a real big fan of Jersey barriers, even painted. One of my buildings looks at two of them that have been painted, and they still look like Jersey barriers. They just don't look that great. I think what Portsmouth did during COVID was kind of interesting. They had that design contest with the I forget what they called it, Votech school, but people created planters to hang on them. That was kind of interesting. I would be hopeful we could scrap together enough money for a few $100s of timbers and make some planters, wood timber planters that could be reused for test cases. I don't know. It just seems like there's got to be something more aesthetic than that. Jersey does not sing beautiful to me.
No, it doesn't. Not at all.
It's the Garden State, come on.
Yeah,
So that's one option, and the big orange barrels, or orange and reflective white
Yeah, they're
barrels.
orange and reflective, yeah.
Yeah.
which are ugly as sin and can be moved around pretty easily.
Yeah.
My preference is for something that kids can't move no matter how much alcohol they've drank.
Kids drinking alcohol?
Yeah, I like things in urban areas that can't be picked up and carried, as a rule.
Sure.
But yeah, that's my preference. But I know that Jersey Barrier could show up tomorrow and it'll be done. That's very convenient. But it's I would be disappointed if I looked out my window and found the town put a Jersey Barrier out there. Probably. I want to look a little more community pride than that.
So maybe we need to investigate and think about the implements that we use to do this, and before we roll it out, before we think about rolling it out, right? And what options we have. I think a planter is great as long as there's a commitment to watering whatever's in the planters.
Right, that's another aspect that's huge, the maintenance side of it.
Since it's a kind of a temporary,
Cactus, temporary.
yeah, a temporary thing, and I don't like the idea of Jersey barriers either, because I think they're they're a pain in the butt to move, and they're really ugly, and they're rectangles, and they don't really lend themselves to making it work very well. So I'm hoping that we can.
How about instead of trying to figure out some time, we'll do some research, see
Yes.
what communities have done, and see if there's anything for small money we can do to
Or borrow from other.
or borrow.
Yeah, I think it would definitely be worth talking to SRPC to see what
Yeah.
what if anything they're aware of that's within the region, or something we could potentially coordinate with.
Yeah, when it
District
wouldn't need
6
to
or
be
something.
that much, I think, in order to make it effective. You know, I don't know what these little, they're kind of these cones, they're reflective, but they're,
Delineators.
yeah, maybe, I don't, yeah, maybe, I don't know, about, 4 feet tall or whatever, and not as much volume, affixed to the asphalt, maybe even temporarily, because that's really all we need. And then we could put a planter in in that area to kind of liven it
And
up
the
a
planter
little bit.
doesn't necessarily have to be planted. It could be Riverstone in it. Although that's another thing that you can pick up and throw.
Okay.
Said before for the crack spells area, just put a whiskey barrel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That could you fill that up with sand.
Yeah, exactly. So that's exactly the kind
Put
of,
something plant on top.
yeah.
And then, I could ride my bike down the street and water it. And
As
Yeah.
long as there
then-
are
On my
still,
way.
so keeping my engineer hat on,
Yeah.
it all still needs to be MUTCD compliant when we're putting it in the road.
Just as
So,
much as a telephone pole.
so things that we, the town, cannot be placing obstructions that don't meet those safety standards.
Even local roads.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot to
especially.
it.
Like,
Yeah.
we can't go put something there that doesn't have proper coloring, reflectiveness, safety components to it. So a whiskey barrel, while may look nice, if it's not behind delineators or barrels,
Right.
we should not be putting that there.
No, we would have delineators
Yeah.
or
Whatever
temporary
we're
striping.
gonna look at putting
Not even
there.
an aesthetic feel.
Yeah.
You're gonna
Well,
get the
yeah.
MUTCD
Yeah.
feel, but we can work within those
It-
guidelines.
I think Stratford County, they do have some loaner stuff,
They
Yes,
do,
they do.
yes.
but it's probably all the cones
that-
and stuff
Yes.
of that sort. Or
Yeah.
Yeah.
every town has that. That's not that great.
No, I think we're not gonna.
But
achieve
it's
the
something that
aesthetic
could be
quality
there
that we're
Yeah.
temporarily
striving
and
for.
Just-
serve
and then
to
in
see if it's
Dover,
gonna
they
work.
closed off the road behind the post office. They created a big wooden planter. They left it there for a year. Actually, no, it ended up being many years before they finally sealed off the road permanently. It was a test, and they left it there. Actually, though, I think they did do Jersey berries before they did the
They
planters.
did.
Probably,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think they did. But then they put the planters up, and then like whatever it was, 5, 6, 7 years later, they finally
I
permanently
mean,
closed.
we have to remember it's a demonstration project. It's
Right.
just to see if it,
Right.
So
Yeah.
it just has to be something that works.
Yeah.
And Jersey berries I think are a little overkill, quite honestly, for that space.
Easily deployable. So.
Easily deployable.
So the other side of this equation is, okay, whatever we do, we need to quantify,
Yes,
measure.
Right.
So that's where SIPC is gonna be.
right, because we're gonna need the
Yeah.
counts
Yeah.
to demonstrate that it's not becoming a queuing problem and we're not
Yes.
seeing people going the wrong way.
I'm wondering if there is a way for, as long as the restriction is there, the temporary alteration, to find out whether how many people are turning right, left,
Yes.
for the duration of the project, or is that more?
Probably SRPC has the TomTom data that they can pull. It's not necessarily everybody. We could do on the ground counts for peak commuter times
Yeah.
to get some numbers and quantification of how that goes,
Is that
but
manual?
that's manual and you have to select the days. The TomTom data they can pull is based on
Because I think that might be
GPS.
helpful to, in the end, should this be a successful, and the decision is made, yes, let's restrict the exit there. Where we and how that's shaped, so that if it's primarily a left-hand turn, then it might look different than if it's a primary.
Yeah, and
right-hand
they
turn.
can pull that data for right now, so
There
we
is a
can
little
get
bit of
that baseline for how how many cars are turning left, how many are turning right,
Okay.
as is, for comparison to what we do with the modification.
I believe there is a little bit of a sightline concern coming from the left-hand side as you're pulling out. When you're pulling out, you have to kind of be
Okay, so
careful.
there is a house, yeah.
Like looking down Elm.
Yeah,
you mean
looking
towards
up
108?
towards
Yeah.
to the east.
Is it a building? Or is
Yeah, I
it-
think it's a hedge. I think it's a building and hedge. You just
There is that
you
hedge,
can't really
yeah.
stop at the white line and then figure you're good. You have to pull forward to make sure you're. Is the way I recall it.
Mm.
Is it you just have to you get.
Yeah.
Could be with the speed people
Okay.
are coming to them.
So
nervous
that
about.
that would be a summertime project, and if we can get some, if we can inquire of SRPC what they have, and would you be willing, Lindsay, to come up with a suggestion on how we best
Yeah.
implement this,
Mhm.
and so that we can, that would be great. That would be really helpful. What do you think is reasonable for a turnaround on that for you and your
I
workload?
am not going to be here for the April 8th meeting, so maybe we look at May.
May? Okay, that sounds good. And then we can, if there's any other conversation around this, then it can relate to conversations in the neighborhood and how we interact and develop that that part of the project. Because there are maybe opportunities for additional changes in the neighborhood that
Mhm.
neighbors will bring up, or that Public Works may have
Mhm.
also. Or don't do this under any circumstances. That's a good one to know too.
This is the corner, and you can't see in TV land, but
Yes, it's
Yeah, in the
Big tree.
summertime. Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh,
yeah.
But that's the existing condition, so
Yeah, I think that.
it shouldn't make it any worse.
Yeah, no.
The schools. Any volunteers as far as reaching out to
Yep.
the schools for
Thank you.
our goals there?
I'll reach out to Todd.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. So I guess, this is not necessarily a priority list, this is our to-do list.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Gotcha, and how long it's gonna take to do said task?
Well, I don't know, we'll,
That's what I'm saying, so it's not necessarily, we're not focusing on one item and making sure that gets done first, it's just like, we have a bunch of different goals, and this is how we anticipate how long it's gonna take.
yes. Yes. I think that gives us flexibility around opportunities that arise and rather.
Just wanna make that clear.
Yeah. At least that's how I look at it. I don't know if
Yeah,
that's.
but we could consider having some, more long-term goals, things that require budgeting.
Yeah.
Because certainly sidewalks, you don't just pull those off one year. You plan for it.
Yeah.
So I do like having, I'm extreme proponent of goals, but I also think we should think of, longer term goals and not be
Yep.
afraid of them, or at some point have that too.
Yep. I think that's fair, and it's certainly a conversation that I know some of the counselors have had around sidewalks and budgeting for a quicker implementation of the expansion plan.
Nice.
So if that's a conversation that we want to have here and develop a recommendation to the council, that would probably be helpful. We could add that to new
Maybe have
tasks.
that as a 2026 goal is to develop long-term goals.
No,
So,
no,
the
it's
way at least the master plan is, we long, medium, short, medium, long term.
Yep.
So we
Yeah.
have that drafted already. These are what you all just spoke about last meeting, so I just put them on there.
Yep.
Just as tasks, so I guess the next step will be for me to propose timelines, and then what I can do is flesh this out more and say these are the other goals that we are considering and for the future. And this is the short.
Well, there are those, and within these, there are additional steps that we don't, developing.
We don't know right now.
Right.
So that's why I have the bottom new test.
Yes.
We can add to it.
Exactly.
So then it gets updated. So this is a living document.
That's good. I like that.
Wow.
It's a great,
Yeah.
great term
Impressive.
too.
Yeah. So it just gets changes. like
Yes.
Everything.
Yes. Yes. That's
Okay.
life, right?
Well, I'll just do something, and then you look at it and tell me to do it some other way, and then
Do something
Let's
else.
go through that process.
The, under village parking initiative, would we want to consider adding a C? There's an A and a B there. And the C would be to explore opportunities to increase downtown parking capacity. So just adding the, where we might be able to add another parking spot here or there. We are doing something already with the omitting the individual lines.
Yeah.
That actually, I just checked my notes, and ours in some places are 25 feet.
Yep.
I misspoke before, I said 24. 25 feet successively long. But we are doing something, so we already accomplished part of that goal. But there might be some other things, and I look to off of Main Street as well, because we're going to start pushing people off of Main Street if we do paid parking, and we should have a place for them to go. And if we have an opportunity, we should use it and jump on it. If we see some patch that we could stripe or something, or put a sign up, and
I mean, I think we can probably, we could write that down as a goal. I wonder. So I'm a little hesitant because I think I'd like to see what's possible with what we have, using if there is a parking management, active parking management implemented in town. What are the results there before we move to additional parking downtown, especially if we are really serious about greater utilization of the outer lying lots. That may not be as necessary.
I think you hypothesize. If we were to implement our plan and it's successful, and people are utilizing our existing infrastructure, where would they go next?
Mm-hmm.
And go through that exercise and say, where is it possible people would start creeping, and parking into places where they're not allowed to park right now, but you could actually fit a space there.
my concern to some degree is when that Kenny Bunk is
Yes.
rented out to somebody, and it could be a restaurant, because 2 restaurants have been interested in it. So they're going to say, nah, this is
Absolutely.
our parking only. That's 20 more cars downtown. That's a big percentage. Add that to the post office, which is not ours.
Yeah.
Now we've got about 30 cars, or 35 cars that'll be added to the downtown mix. That's a big chunk.
But maybe they get funneled to
The satellite lots that are
So that would
underutilized.
be
Right.
able to, there's a behavioral component here, which I agree with you with, that
Right.
people will not want to do that. That'll take time. But again, and they don't know where to go. So again, we have some public spaces that we don't usually advertise or utilize. Town hall.
Right.
Which is
Beach
very
Street.
Beach Street extension.
also
which
not
is
far.
relatively close to downtown.
Yeah.
Not as close as Kennybunk, granted. But we do have spots. So,
Yeah.
and then also in front of Town Hall, those aren't utilized at all as well.
Right.
Yeah, the ones on the street.
South Main.
Right.
So, I agree. We just gotta show the convenience of these spots.
Yeah, which I don't think a lot of people would find something like Beach Street convenient. I just don't think
But
that.
town hall definitely would be more convenient.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Certainly, if one of those places dried up, then yeah, town hall. It's we've got areas. Certainly, Spring Street's a lot closer. You're 2 blocks. Well, depending on where you're going downtown, I suppose. But yeah, it just seems that we should explore every opportunity because we know that parking's a problem.
I think we consider this project as holistically as possible. Considering the existing infrastructure, considering the opportunities that might be presented through active parking management and wayfinding, and then see if there's what are the gaps, what are opportunities for additional parking if that's necessary, and where would that best be placed. So it's probably going to be an ongoing process, and we will not. There's not going to be a date when we finally solved parking and we'll never have to deal with it. It's kind of
I know it's two different
living
contexts,
thing.
but even yourself, man, like that, you go to Portsmouth, you're not parking in the paved areas. You're walking 10 minutes
I do,
downtown.
but you're the former secretary of the planning office.
Sure.
Won't come to downtown. She lives in town and has lived here for 40 years. She goes to Epping to go out to eat.
I know.
I'm a little bit more of a walker than the average. Than a lot of customers, I would say.
That's what I'm saying. It's a behavior.
Right. Yeah.
It's not necessarily. Yes, spaces are further away from downtown,
Yeah.
but relatively speaking.
And we have lost businesses in town because of poor parking. One of the hairdressers said that I've got mainly elderly clients, and they're not going to walk, and so she left to someplace that she could get parking. So it is for some people
For
it's really
demographics,
important.
certain demographics.
Right? Yeah. She
I
had
agree with you.
older people
Yeah.
who visited her.
But maybe that's for this Simca's points, the part of the management aspect of it.
Right.
Where if
Right.
you have
That's
good
true.
management, then those
Yeah.
turnover rates are going to be much more convenient.
Yeah, that's
for
true.
those folks.
Yeah.
I mean, that's truly one goal, is to have a certain number of available spots at any given time per block or per whatever stretch you want to utilize. And that's how these things are implemented in larger cities for sure, and it's successfully. So I think there's probably more opportunity in parking management than is easily discernible at first blush. I think there's quite a bit that we would open up for us as far as the toolbox is concerned by thinking about parking and parking lots as as assets that the town is managing actively to encourage people and enable people to be downtown and to participate in economic activities downtown. To go to restaurants, to go and visit stores and those kinds of things. I think that's kind of the goal. And if we fall short and we need more parking, then that will be something that we'll learn. So I think that's kind of where we're at. And I think the again having a way to a kind of a revenue stream will enable us to do something about whatever we're learning, right? Which is also kind of a nice benefit.
So, take another crack at this.
Okay, thank you. Anything else before we break for the night?
But I walked into a little conversation about Central Street. Is there some discussion about that?
No, so to catch everyone up. And by the way, if you're still here, you should be here.
Right.
It was a conversation based on this perpetual problem of pulling out of Central Street onto Main Street, either direction, often hindered by people parking in the brick spots that are not spots.
Non-parking areas.
In the areas that you shouldn't be parking because they're there for pedestrian safety or what have you. I don't know if this is really a conversation for the meeting.
But just like we talked about, like, how can we make improvements?
Yes.
To the area. So it's just.
Be thinking creatively
future?
beyond managing the situation the way it is. Are there, changes that one could possibly think about that we could come up with that would facilitate, safe access and egress for the residents of Central Street in kind of the adjoining neighborhood, and improve pedestrian safety on Main Street. That's basically the gist of it, I think.
There was at one point in time a thought that should be reversed the one-way direction, and that way people aren't pulling out onto Main Street with a limited sight distance, or pulling in and backing onto Main Street with no sight distance.
Right.
Is that something we'd want to have? I don't know if it would be Stratford County or some traffic study done, or just.
DOT, correct me if I'm wrong, my
Go ahead.
understanding is they don't want anyone queuing on Main Street, taking a waiting to turn onto Central Street. So that'll just slow down everything. So
Yeah, that's one piece of it. But it's I think one of the elements to what you were saying at the beginning of the meeting conversation before, was also like considering the traffic flow through the neighborhoods, not looking exclusively at Central Street, but if Central
Right.
Street's going to be a one-way in the opposite direction, how does that impact the other streets, and where would the loop go? And it's a larger traffic flow analysis than just the one street, but it is something that we should look more at when we are getting into the hill reconstruction project. And I think that was probably where you were saying there's digging in the streets and getting to be a bigger, we're talking about a bigger project, but it is on the radar as an element that can be improved upon for safety purposes when we're looking into that area. I know the Highway Safety Committee looked at it last summer or year before?
Yeah,
Yeah, I forget what it was.
I think
And
it was 2 summers.
so it's something that comes up repeatedly, and it is a consideration, and is definitely something the town is aware of making
Yeah.
a change. It's just a matter of being in a position to look at it holistically and make a change that's gonna not just be a Band-Aid for that specific
Yeah.
intersection.
Yeah. I so often see people turning up it and then backing onto Main Street and somebody honking their horn, and that's what the guy who lived on the corner said. He said, that's every day I hear people yelling, barking. So it's chronically been a problem.
I wouldn't be opposed to finishing up the meeting, but I have one tiny question before it of Lindsay. Have you heard any update on the work that we did on Exeter Road? The
Safety
Bennett.
audit.
Road safety audit?
Yes.
I have not heard any
Okay.
update on that.
Okay. Good. That's quick, easy, simple. Thank you. And is there anything else that one of you would like to bring to the table? And if not, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn, or
I'll make that.
consider ourselves
Sure.
adjourned.
Make a motion
Second.
to adjourn.
A second that.
All in favor? Thank you very much. It was an entertaining meeting. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.